بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back, my dear students, in this English lesson. But what are we going to do in this English lesson? So before, we took enrichment lesson number 2. Today, we are going to take enrichment lesson number 3. But before we start with today's lesson, let's take a look at the previous homework. What were you asked to do and what did you do about it? So let's take a look. Here, you were asked to write about your favorite pastime activity and answer these 3 questions. So you are going to answer these 3 questions and write a paragraph about your favorite pastime activities. The first question is, what is your favorite pastime activity? The second question, what do you need for this activity? Do you need any tools? Do you need any equipment? What do you need to perform this activity? And the third question, how do you do it? So for example, if your favorite pastime activity is a kind of a board game, you're going to explain how do you do it and what are the things that you need to play this board game. Now, let's take a look at this example here for an answer. Let's take a look at the picture. Now, can you guess what is this pastime activity? In the picture, you can see some paint, some colors, and art things. So, what is the pastime activity from the picture before we start reading the paragraph? So, I think it's painting. Now, let's take a look at this paragraph. And in the paragraph, you will see some things. I did change the color of the font for it, so you can take a look at it and recognize. Did you see these rules before from the previous lessons? Now, let's take a look. So, let's read the paragraph together. My favorite pastime is painting. All I need for painting is a canvas, paint, brushes, and an idea. I like painting in the weekend because I can paint for hours without stopping. First, I put my canvas on the stand. Then I start sketching my idea with a pencil. After that, I use the paint to color. So here, the pastime activity is painting. What are the tools that you need, or what do you need for this activity? So here, you will need canvas, paint, brushes. So it depends on the kind of activity that you like. So how do you do it? So here are the steps. First, I put the canvas on the stand. Then I sketch the idea with a pencil. Then I color. So these are the steps. Now, for the steps, what did we use? Let's take a look. Here we have the word first. First, I put the canvas on the stand. This is the first thing I do to perform this activity, to do this activity. I take the canvas, put it on the stand. After that, what is the next step? And the next step is what? I start sketching my idea with a pencil. So this is step number 2. Sketching the idea on the canvas before using the paint to color this idea. Because coloring the idea or using the paint, this is the final step. See? Now, I want you to pay attention to some of these words here. My favorite pastime is painting. Look at the word painting. What do we call this verb plus ing here in this sentence? It's a gerund. So here, painting, it is a verb plus ing, but in the sentence, it's acting like an object. So paint, painting. So painting is the activity. Painting is the noun here in the sentence. It's acting like the noun. So here, all I need for painting, all I need for this activity, all I need for this thing I will do is these things, the canvas, the paint, and the brushes. So also here, the word painting, it's acting like an object. What about this one here? I like painting. Now, do you remember the word I like, I prefer? Some of these words, we use it before the gerund. I like painting. So here the gerund, painting, the verb paint plus ing to act like an object. So these words painting are all gerunds. Now let's take a look at the word because. Why did I change the color of the word because? Let's take a look at the sentence. I like painting in the weekend because I can paint for hours without stopping. So here it's giving us a reason. I like painting in the weekend. Why do you like painting in the weekend? Because I can paint for hours without stopping. This is the reason for liking painting in the weekend. So here is an example for the assignment, and I want you to do the same thing with your homework. Write your favorite pastime activity, the things that you will need, and how do you do it. Now, in this lesson, what are we going to do? Let's take a look. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to differentiate between count and non-count nouns. And we are also going to use words of quantity correctly. Now, we know the difference between count and non-count nouns, right? But what are the things that we are going to use with count nouns and non-count nouns? And here, the word of quantities, how are we going to use it correctly in sentences? Let's take a look. So, I want you to take a look at this slide. So here the question, count nouns or non-count nouns? Take a look at the pictures. I want you to tell me, what can you see in each picture, and are these count or non-count nouns? So let's take a look at the first picture. In the first picture here, you can see kind of food, right? You can see sandwiches, you can see fries in the middle. How many sandwiches? Now, let's take a look at the word sandwich. Is it a count or non-count noun? Can you count the sandwiches? Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see 4 sandwiches. It is a count noun. Now, how about this picture? The second picture. What can you see in the second picture? So here, I can see kinds of fruits. It's not like the sandwiches. Here, I can see kinds of fruits. But what are these fruits? Can you name some of these fruits? I'll try. I can see a pineapple, a grapefruit, berries, strawberries. I can see a lemon, mangoes, and I think this is kiwi. See? I can see some fruits here in the picture. Now, can you count the lemons? I can count these slices here. 1 slice, 2 slices, 3 slices. But actually, if it's a whole lemon, I can count it. I can count 1 lemon, 2 lemons, 3 lemons. So here, these are count nouns. Now, let's take a look at the third picture. What can you see in the third picture? I can see a cup of coffee. Can you count the coffee? Now, we know that coffee is a non-count noun. You can't count the coffee inside the cup, right? But you can count the cups. So we are serving 3 cups of coffee and 2 cups of tea. We can count the cups, but we can't count the coffee or the tea. Now, let's take a look at the next one here. I can see a glass of water. A glass of water. So you can't count the water inside the glass, but you can't count the number of glasses. I can see 2 glasses or 3 glasses. We can count the glasses, but not the water inside the glasses. Now we know that these are count nouns and non-count nouns. What are we going to use before the count nouns and the non-count nouns? Let's take a look. So here we have 2 kinds of nouns. We have the count nouns and the non-count nouns. Count nouns, we can count it, but the non-count nouns, we cannot count it, like rice, tea, coffee, drinks. We can't count it. But in the count nouns, we can count the nouns. We can say 1 carrot or 10 carrots, but you can't say 10 coffees. You can say 10 cups of coffees, but the coffee itself, you can't count it. So here, let's take a look at these nouns here. I have chair and cup, but look at the thing before chair and cup. A chair. A chair, that means it's only 1 chair. And here, a cup. A cup, that means it's only 1 cup. Now, do you remember in the lesson when we ordered food from a menu? So we said, I would like a cup of coffee, or I would like a cup of tea. So we can count the cup, right? Now, before this count noun, we are using the letter A. A cup of coffee, a chair, or we are using a before the count noun. Now, let's take a look at the non-count noun. If you're ordering food, you can say, I want some rice. You can't say, I want a rice. You will say, I want some rice, or I want some juice. So we're using some for the non-count nouns. Now we know that for count nouns, we're using a. For non-count nouns, we are using some. But how are they going to look like in a sentence? So here, I have this exercise for you. Complete the sentences with a or some. You're going to choose in the spaces a or some. So before we take a look at this, what are we going to fill in the space? Let's take a look at the word after the space. Is it a count or a non-count noun? So we can decide which one are we going to use. Let's take a look. I went to an Italian restaurant in my town. The waiter came to my table and said, would you like a cup of water? So what can we use here? A cup of water or some cup of water? Which one is correct? So here we have the word cup. Is it a count or a non-count noun? So the word cup, it is a count noun. But here water, it's non-count. But we are counting the cup, not the water. So the answer is going to be, would you like a cup of water? I said no, I would like, then we have a space here, juice, please. So here we have the noun juice. What are we going to choose for the noun juice? A or some? So we are using some juice, because juice is a non-count noun. So here the answer, I said no, I would like some juice, please. I called the waiter and asked for pasta. Now, let's take a look at the word pasta. Is it a count or a non-count noun? So can you count the pasta in your bowl? So I think that would be difficult. The word pasta, it's a non-count noun. So I called the waiter and asked for some pasta. We're using some because we can't count the pasta. It's a non-count noun. The waiter said, it comes with salad on the side. So for the word salad, what are we going to use? It comes with a salad on the side. A salad on the side. Actually, the word salad can be both a count or a non-count noun. Do you remember in the lesson before in Unit 4 when we talked about the menu? So the word salad, it could be a count or a non-count noun. So here, if you're using this, if you're using a salad, it's correct. Some salad, it's also correct. Now, let's take a look at this picture here. Now, how can we make this dish? What can you see in this picture? So is it a count or a non-count noun? What are we going to use? So for count nouns, for non-count nouns, a or some, which one are you going to choose? So here in the picture, I can see pasta. It's a kind of pasta, and I can see tomatoes. And what else can you see? You can see the salad under the pasta. But now that you can see this picture of the pasta, let's take a look at the question. How can we make this dish? So, for example, you went to a restaurant, you liked this dish. You're calling the chef, you're asking the chef about the ingredients and the recipe for this dish. So, the chef will tell you about the quantity of the things that you will need to make this dish and the steps that you will follow to make this recipe. So, let's start with the first thing here. So, the ingredients for making this dish, the ingredients. Now, for the ingredients, you're going to combine few elements together to create this dish. But is it any quantity? So it has to be specific quantities here. Now let's take a look at the ingredients for this dish, the pasta. So What are you going to need to make it? The things that you will need. You will need some pasta. Here we have the word some. So you can decide how much pasta do you want. Some pasta. Here we have 4 cherry tomatoes. Can you see the cherry tomatoes in the dish? So these cherry tomatoes are cut in half or quarters. So how many cherry tomatoes do you need? 4 cherry tomatoes. So here is the quantity. Now, how about this green thing on the pasta? This sauce is called pesto sauce. So how much do you need from the pesto sauce? You need some pesto sauce. Or you can also say 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. This is a specific quantity. So you can count the number of spoons that you are going to add to this dish. Now, let's take a look at the last part here. Half a cup of grated cheese. So here, grated cheese. But how much grated cheese do you need to make this dish? You will need half cup of grated cheese. Now, let's take a look. Cup of grated cheese. And here, some pesto. Here, 4 cherry tomatoes. And some pasta. What do we call these? Words of quantities. So these are going to help you to understand exactly the quantity of these things. How much pasta? You will need some pasta. How much cherry tomatoes do you need? Or how many cherry tomatoes you will need? You will need 4 cherry tomatoes. How about the grated cheese? You will need half a cup of the grated cheese. Now, let's take a look at this picture. What can you see here? So after taking a look at the ingredients, you're going to start the recipe or the steps that you are going to follow to create this dish. So here you can see someone is boiling the pasta, right? So the instruction to make this recipe is like this. First, we have the word first here. That means this is the number 1 thing that you're going to do. First, boil the pasta in hot water until it cooks. So here the word until. What do we call the word until? It's words of time. So you're going to do this thing until the difference happens. So you're going to cook the pasta until you're going to boil the pasta until it cooks. Now, after that, add the pesto sauce to the pasta. What is the next step that you're going to do? Adding the pesto sauce. So this is the second step. Then add the grated cheese. You're going to add the grated cheese. After that, then see here we have first, after that, then, and after adding the grated cheese, then put the pasta in a dish. Finally, cut the cherry tomatoes and add it to the dish. So here we have the words first, until, after that, then, and finally. So these can show you the steps. Here we use these words to talk about a recipe, to talk about the steps to create this recipe. Now, do you remember in the second unit when we talked about the how-to videos? So if you want to create a how-to video, what are the steps? Do you remember? We talked about the steps. First, you will have the idea. Second, or after that, you're going to talk to your friends about the idea so they can help you. After that, you're going to prepare the things for the idea. Do you remember the how-to video when we talked about making the hot chocolate? So the project was creating the video, not creating the hot chocolate itself, creating the video. So we had the idea, we prepared the camera, we talked to our friends to help, and finally we edited the video and we shared it with our friends. So here we use these words, the words first and after that, then, to talk about the recipe, and before that we used it to talk about creating a video. Now, let's take a look at this exercise here. What are you going to do? Use the correct words of quantity, some or any, to complete these sentences. Now, do you remember when we talked about some and any for with these examples here? So some, you're going to use, we have affirmative and negative questions, or affirmative and negative sentences. Now, every time you're seeing a negative sentence, you're going to use any. Or in questions, you're also going to use any. But how about if someone is offering? Would you like some tea? You're going to use the word some. So in questions and in negative sentences, we're using any. And we're going to use some for the affirmative sentences and in offering in a question. Let's take a look here. So here we have a question. Do you want space, water with your order? Do you want water with your order? What are we going to use? Some or any? So actually, this is offering the water. So what are we going to use? You can use some. Would you like some water with your order? Would you like some water? Because the waiter here is offering. Now, let's take a look at the second one here. There are space fries on the table. So what are we going to use? There are fries on the table. Some fries on the table or any fries on the table? We're using some fries on the table. Why are we using the word some? Because it's an affirmative sentence. It's not a negative one. If it's negative, we can use the word any. Now, let's take a look at the next one. Are there, and space, sandwiches on the menu? Here we have a question mark. And this is a question. This is not an offer, right? Are there what? Are there any or are there some sandwiches on the menu? Are there any sandwiches in the menu? I don't know the answer. Is it yes or no? That's why, because I don't know, this is not an offer, we are using the word any. Now, let's take a look at the next one. There isn't something here, juice in the fridge. So, there isn't any juice in the fridge or some juice in the fridge. Now here, it's a negative sentence. It's not affirmative. Do you remember when we talked about it? So every time you're seeing the negative sentence, you're going to use the word any. So the answer here is any. There isn't any juice in the fridge. There isn't any juice in the fridge. Because here we have the negative isn't. Now, see how did we use these words, some and any. Now let's take a look at these pictures. Now, what can you see in the pictures? What are we going to use to describe the things in the pictures? Let's take a look at the first one here. What can you see in the first picture? I can see eggs, right? Now, the word eggs, is it count noun or non-count noun? Can you count the eggs on this plate? I can count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can see 6 eggs on the plate. So it is a count noun. So if you're asking about the egg, a question, are there any eggs on the plate? If I don't know the question, right? But if it's an affirmative sentence, I can say there are some eggs on the plate. Now, how about the cheesecake? What can you see? So we are talking about the quantity of the cheesecake. I can say, I can see a piece of cheesecake. It is only one piece, right? I can see a piece of cheesecake. This is the quantity of it. Now, how about this picture? What can you see in this picture? What is the quantity of the thing? I can see water. Now, but where is the water? The water is in a bottle. I can see a bottle of water. I can count the bottles. I can't count the water. So I can see a bottle of water. I used I used a before bottle of water. Now, how about this one? Can you see the soup? So I can see a bowl of soup. I can count the bowls of soup, but I can't count the soup itself. Now, how about the milk? I can't count the milk, but I can count the glasses of milk. I can see a glass of milk. See? Now, we can use the words of quantity to describe pictures or to order things from a menu. Now, what did we do in this lesson? We differentiated between count nouns and non-count nouns. What did we use with count nouns and non-count nouns? we can use a with count nouns and some with non-count nouns. Now, what is the difference between some and any? Do you remember? So, in affirmative sentences, we're using some. For negative sentences or questions, we're using any except for an offer. If you're offering, would you like some tea? So you are using the word some in the offer. Now, and we also used words of quantity correctly. A cup of water, a piece of cake, a bowl of soup. So these are words of quantity to tell us how much exactly can we see in the picture. Now, and we also saw in the ingredients, how much did we need to combine these ingredients? We needed 4 cherry tomatoes. We needed half a cup of grated cheese. See, these are all called words of quantity. Now, for your homework, what are you going to do? So write 2 sentences using the word some and 2 sentences using the word any. Here I have a table for you. You're going to write 2 sentences using the word some, and you're going to use 2 sentences using the word any. It doesn't have to be a sentence. You can write a question too. It's all correct. And we are going to check the answers together in the next lesson. And thank you very much, my dear students.